I've spent pretty much the last 2 weeks of my life playing Marvel's Midnight Suns. I wanted to ensure I fully soaked up the entire experience, clocking in 154 hours played on completion. I really took my time on this one, not only because I wanted to give it an honest review, but because I was simply enjoying myself. So let's get into it. Marvel's Midnight Suns is a Firaxis game, which Firaxis is well known for their XCOM series, and that is the sole reason I was interested in this game from the beginning. I am one of the few people who have completed XCOM 1 on Iron Man Impossible mode, and I have the achievement to show for it. And I bring this up because I love tactical RPGs that make you suffer. Call me a bit of a masochist if you will, but I enjoy it. With that said, the idea of replacing my XCOM recruits with Marvel superheroes pretty much sold me right there. Well, turns out there's a lot more to this game than expected, a shocking amount. It's how I willingly ended up sinking 150 hours into this game. So let's start from the beginning. It's a Marvel franchise game. No surprise, it's chock full of story and world building. A quick overview: in this story, an evil witch named Lilith is resurrected from her grave. She is so powerful that neither the Marvel Midnight Suns or the Avengers can put a stop to her. That's where the protagonist or player character creation comes in. The Hunter. The Hunter is also resurrected, as they are the only hope of defeating Lilith because they are Lilith's child. So only the blood of the witch can defeat the witch, and this is where the story begins. So you create your own Marvel superhero, and that's freaking badass. Customization here is fairly decent, not anything over the top. It gets the job done. The true customization comes from the hundreds of endless unlocks you get while progressing through the game. And I certainly had a ton of fun changing up my hero's look every time I unlocked a batch of new cosmetics. Much like XCOM, you gotta make your characters badass to grow attached to them, and this game is no slouch in that department. You can even unlock color palettes and outfits for the official Marvel heroes on your roster, allowing you to make matching trios for each mission you embark on. Also badass. But getting back to the story, I don't really want to do an extensive story and writing review. That's not really my forte. I don't generally play games for the story. I like XCOM and strategy games because my time is spent in combat, upgrades, customization, and that's the gameplay loop. That is enough to fulfill me in a strategy RPG. With that said, the story here was a pleasant surprise for me. Some say the writing and story is average at best. I would disagree and say that I found it pretty immersing, playful, and generally got me soaking up this Marvel universe of the Midnight Suns.
Trust me on the pickle juice. It's a Russian delicacy. Like a lump of clay you find in a gutter.
What?
You know, you are a big chicken. Fine! I will cut the cake!
Always wanted to do that.
Do what?
Smash a birthday cake so hard it explodes.
Why would you want to do that?
Hunter and Spider-Man! Hunter and Spider-Man! One is a hunter, the other Spider-Man. They are Hunter and Spider-Man! So, what do you think?
Where some people might find the writing and story feeling pretty average at times, I would say that that's likely derived from the actual player character, the Hunter.
Of course. Caretaker has reformed the Midnight Suns.
Whoa, how did you?
Your power. I can feel it. I always do.
Which is the vessel which you interact with all of these characters and story with. The Hunter is like 1,000 years old. They're super awkward and out of place in this universe, which gives their back and forth dialogue a little bit of overall strangeness. But the Hunter is sort of this required vessel, as I mentioned, to actually go and interact with all the characters. Without that character, there wouldn't really be a way to interact with all of the different heroes. So I understand why they chose to go this route. and I don't really disagree with it. All that aside, the story beats were very fun and Marvel-like. Go save Spider-Man, go fight Venom, go have a battle at the Avengers Tower, save New York City, stop another world apocalypse. It all scales nicely, and the story missions tend to be enjoyable and memorable, for me at least. So the story was fun. Let's move on to the good stuff. Combat and gameplay loops. Starting with the combat. This is what I signed up for, and I wasn't disappointed. Has that Firaxis DNA of an XCOM combat style, and it looks and plays incredibly. Top-notch AAA combat design, and that's exactly what I hoped for, and I got even more. Not going to turn this into a tutorial on how combat works, but I will say that the card system is the main design, and it allows each turn to feel unique. It allows you to build and customize your heroes in creative ways, and it also allowed Firaxis to put in some of their beloved RNG without actually adding a chance to miss like in XCOM. So it's great. And it works in such a harmonious way that it instantly becomes addictive. So I give this combat a 10 out of 10. I love everything about it, and I'm excited to jump in every single mission, every single time. Just amazing. Wouldn't be a Firaxis game without difficulty. This game gives you the ability to progress through difficulty tiers as you go, all the way up to Ultimate 3 at the 8th final difficulty. I achieved Ultimate 3 pretty early on in my playthrough, and I must say, in the beginning when I didn't have many cards or cards upgraded or mods for my cards, it gave me the sense of playing an XCOM game. The feeling of hopelessness and being overwhelmed at times, and I absolutely loved it. Although that feeling sort of dissipates as you begin to unlock more abilities, upgrade them, mod them, and so on. And I suppose there isn't a difficulty too high for the mightiest of superheroes in the galaxy. At least that seems to be the angle they're going with, as the whole concept of every mission is to defeat enemies in the fewest amount of turns possible to achieve a 3-star rating for the most amount of gloss, and gloss being a currency that you use to expand and unlock cosmetics. So you could kind of say that the difficulty is intended for you to be mopping up enemies as superheroes, and you have to challenge yourself to see how quickly you can do that. But for me, it wasn't long before I was 3-starring every mission on Ultimate 3 in less than 1 or 2 turns on the hardest available missions. But that's me. I break games like this. I come up with broken builds and I have fun doing it. And I gotta say, even though I'm smashing missions in record turns, still having a great time doing it. And that's how a superhero team should feel. But I digress. They need to add harder difficulties for players like me. I haven't even started pounding in Paragon levels, min-maxing mods for abilities, or honing additional stats on my hero's attributes. At this point, it's only going to get easier and easier. And for that, they do need to consider adding in some more elite, dangerous difficulties come future patches and DLCs. All right, gameplay loop. After you're done having a blast 3-starring your Ultimate 3 missions, make sure to customize your comic. That is the most important part of this game. Yes, it is a thing, and it's freaking unbelievably fun. At least for me it is. In fact, I customized every single one of my comics with the utmost perfection, and I plan to make a separate video showcasing all my amazing comics. So subscribe and check that video out. But seriously, it's awesome. I love the comic editor, and it's a nice creative thing to do in between the constant battling. I love gameplay loops that involve something creative, such as customizing your hero with the gloss you earn from the missions. So that is another gameplay loop. As you earn more gloss from the missions, you'll want to look like a badass for your next mission. So spend some time making your character look like a badass, get a matching color palette for your other Marvel heroes, and prepare to embark on your next mission in style. But before you get out there again, you have other options. You can spend time getting to know your heroes with the friendship simulator, join in on conversations, go on hangouts, give them gifts, or join clubs.
But you know what it is to have been sucked into the darkness, to even rule it, and still manage to crawl your way back to the light.
Yes, I know. I'm a badass.
And if you're more of a loner, you can go explore the massive Abbey grounds to uncover more rich lore, discover unique unlocks and cosmetics through solving mysteries. Or you can simply gather reagents used for crafting battle items for your upcoming missions. There's a ton to do between missions if you so choose to engage with it. If not, you can completely ignore it, get some rest, and go right back into the amazing combat. After you've gotten some rest, every morning is Christmas in the Abbey because you have new abilities to unlock, research projects that have completed from the day before, heroes to spar with to specialize them in specific attributes for their playstyles, and lastly, heroes to send out on operations to unlock even more abilities. And if you happen to have enough resources banked up from the missions you've been playing, time to tinker with upgrading abilities for your favorite heroes. I gotta say, I love the modding system. Even though you have to re-roll and choose from one of 3 options, and it's very RNG, once you get the stat of your dreams, it really elevates and changes the way that card behaves. And once you get a feeling for that, it will drive you to go grind for more materials, beat more missions, and keep modding more abilities. And it is such a fun gameplay loop. And one example of this is one of my favorites, the free mod that I landed on a few of my hero skill cards. In particular, the free mark all enemies combined with some other changes turned my Scarlet Witch from a D tier hero into an S tier must pick for majority of my missions. Marked makes it so you get a card refund when KOing a marked enemy, and since it's free, you can end up clearing the entire battlefield without using a single card play because they're constantly getting refunded. It's kind of broken, but hey, I had fun making Scarlet Witch into a god tier character. She needed some love. But that's just one example of power potential of modding cards designed within the daily gameplay loop. It gets you back out there smashing more missions with something amazing to strive towards. So as you can see, the gameplay loop itself involves a lot of variation, but most importantly, the combat is fun. So if you're not enjoying the story beats, you can skip them. If you don't enjoy min-maxing abilities, attributes, friendship levels, etc., then toss the game on story mode and play the campaign missions. No matter what your patience level is, your interest level, or skill level, Marvel's Midnight Suns has a gameplay loop that I feel that works for anyone who at the very least enjoys destroying enemies with incredibly visual superhero abilities. So to summarize it, it's a very fun gameplay loop, and it had me hooked for 150 hours. And I gotta say, the story missions are unbelievably awesome. Every time you embark on a story mission, you're going to have a good time, and it continuously ramps up throughout the progress of the campaign. And now, here you are, you have beat the final mission of the campaign. And I gotta say, without giving any spoilers, the ending brings forward emotions, leaves room for expanding the story, leaves you asking questions, and most importantly, leaves you wanting more. So now it's technically over. What does the game offer for replayability? Well, now you've unlocked Endgame, and you can continuously and endlessly farm missions from the largest and most diverse pool that the game has to offer. The missions scale up well beyond your current character level, and the difficulty does ramp up a bit, which for me was nice to see, but it's still not enough in my personal opinion. This endgame allows you to hone your abilities, as I talked about earlier, and truly achieve those best in slot cards for all 13 of your heroes, while you're continuing to build up stats, attributes, friendship levels. And if any of this doesn't interest you, you also have the option of New Game Plus. And this one's a bit controversial for me. The mode allows you to carry over your heroes and a few other things, allowing you to play the first missions with the heroes you unlocked, say, at the end of the game, such as Wanda and the Hulk. However, New Game Plus doesn't allow you to carry over your abilities, your unlocks, your Abbey progress, and many other things. It's really just about playing the game again, but with all the heroes unlocked. It's super disappointing because I'm one of those players who wants to grind the end game a bit, min-max some of my abilities, carry that over to the campaign again using all my souped up stuff. And as I mentioned earlier, the story missions are truly much more fun than the side missions. So most people would rather use New Game Plus as an opportunity to continue to min-max while doing more interesting mission variety. Unfortunately, this simply is not the case here, and it leaves me in sort of a limbo state about what to do now that I'm done the game. I don't really want to lose my progress by going to New Game Plus, but I don't really want to endlessly grind side missions in the current endgame. If the developers simply gave us a few checkbox options of what we want in our New Game Plus upon selecting it, I literally would be playing this game easily for another 100 plus hours or 1 to 2 more playthroughs. I enjoy this game enough to do the 150-hour lap a couple more times. But this lackluster New Game Plus mode simply ruins my desire to sink any much more time into this game, and that's kind of unfortunate. Luckily enough, people are screaming of the same complaint on Reddit, and I'm sure the developers will catch wind of this by now, and one can only hope that by the time the DLC comes out, we'll have new options added in for New Game Plus and give us a reason to play the game again with the new heroes. So between New Game Plus being a disappointment, Ultimate 3 being fairly easy for me personally, those are really my only two negatives about the game throughout a 150-hour experience. If they patch in a New Game Plus and add in a few more difficulties, I'll be back into this game easily for another 100 plus hours, especially with the DLC. And seeing how the story ended, it seems to me as if they have some sort of expansion planned, and it wouldn't surprise me considering all the XCOM games had their expansions. The last thing I want to address here is I saw some negative reviews on Steam about the microtransaction / market shop in the game. A lot of people are insulted that they bought a single player game and are being sold skins separately. I just kind of wanted to clarify this for anyone wondering and also give my opinion on it. The market shop skins are the skins you get for buying the higher tier versions of the game. I bought the Legendary Edition, and when I go to the store, it says I own everything. These are mainly placed there for people who bought the lowered or standard edition of the game and decided later that they wanted to actually get some of those skins. And they are seriously cheap. They are nothing more than $1 or $2. In some cases, it's actually cheaper to buy the standard edition of the game than just grab a few of the skins that you like. Because many of the skins that came with the Legendary Edition, I didn't really care for or use much. So in my opinion, it just serves to give you more options. Now, it is debatable that should a game have higher tier editions that come with extra cosmetics? Should a single player game even sell cosmetics? People are overlooking the fact that the higher tiers of this game come with the future DLC. They are just giving you the skins ahead of time. XCOM had DLC that you paid for, which also had new cosmetics in the game. Here, they are just delivering those cosmetics to you early as sort of a pre-order for your DLC. However, I'm still in the opinion that the developer could do whatever they want to regardless, and as long as the product is actually good, we shouldn't have much to complain about. Games are getting increasingly more expensive to make, and single-player games are generally a poor investment compared to making an online service game that costs about the same to develop. If this game was an online service multiplayer game, no one would bat an eye over a $20 skin. Just standard practice, they would say. But when a single-player game adds $1 to $2 skins, everyone is up in arms. When in theory, Firaxis would have been better off not making this game. And as a result, single-player games will die from this behavior. So if you enjoy these types of games, if you enjoyed this game, I don't think it hurts to support the game developers just a little bit more. Otherwise, they just won't be around anymore. So overall, I don't really care. I don't really mind it. It's fine for me. And if they decided to throw a few more skins on the shop for $1 or $2, I would buy them all up. I've been enjoying the game tremendously. I got my money's worth, and hey, I got a few more bucks to throw their way if they give me the option to do so. That's my thoughts. So let's wrap this all up. That's generally everything I wanted to cover in this review. Story, combat, gameplay loop, monetization. We hit most of it. It's all very solid stuff, and I was pleasantly surprised by the entire game package. Like I said at the top of the video, I heard this was basically Marvel's XCOM, and that was enough to get me on board right there. Not only does it doesn't feel like Marvel's XCOM, it delivers above and beyond all my expectations. I had a lot more fun than I expected, and for me, it was a pleasant surprise to end my gaming year off with this. I managed to put 150 plus hours into this on what the developers estimated an 80-hour game experience if you do everything. So clearly there is a lot more to do than, quote, everything. And guess what? I'm not even done with the game yet. I still want to keep grinding that end game. I'm still holding out for the improved New Game Plus mode, and I cannot wait to check out the new heroes that come in 2023's DLC. So if I had to rate the game, which I can do that, I would give this, in my personal opinion, a solid 8 out of 10. Everything was exceptional. I got my money's worth. I did laps around the hours on Steam, and I continuously want to play more. If I was a console gamer and this came to me under the Christmas tree, and I was able to play this all throughout the entire winter, this would be my game of choice. Absolutely. I had a ton of fun with it, but I love strategy RPGs, and I also love the Marvel Universe. So again, for me, this is a solid 8 out of 10 gaming experience. Highly, highly recommend it. What a joy. And leaving off the video, I got plenty more other video ideas in the works. So if you enjoyed the review, please do drop a sub, come back, check in. We'll be doing some character reviews, insane broken builds that complete Ultimate 3 missions in one turn, tier lists, and more. So come check it out. All right, guys, I'm Johnny5 Alive. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye now.